everyone, it's Jessie. In today's video I'm going to be recommending to you my top 5 back to school reads. When the school year starts, it can be stressful with having that long relaxing summer be over and having all this schoolwork and other responsibilities thrown on you all at once. During the school year I would probably like to read things that are a little more stress-free, relaxing, not so much emotionally draining, if that makes sense, because you're already going to be working really hard in school and stuff like that. So I have these books that aren't so emotionally heavy. I wanted to pick books that were semi on the medium to shorter side, that are really quick reads, that are good. So without further ado, let's get into these book recommendations. The first book we have up here is The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. A lot of you already know because I say it so much. I am not a huge contemporary fan. When I read, I like to read fantasy or sci-fi or historical fiction, just things that get me out of my real life situation. This is a really good contemporary that I really enjoyed. I read it on an airplane in one sitting. It had to have been one sitting because that's all I could do on an airplane. But anyways, it was so good. I love this book. Since I'm really bad at summarizing things, and since I partially don't remember much about this book, I'm going to be reading the dust jacket summary instead so I don't like misinterpret information for you guys. 17-year-old Lenny Walker, bookworm and band geek. I think that's why I probably like this book so much. I probably resonated a lot with the main character. I mean, if you're watching this video, you're probably a bookworm too. Plays second clarinet and spends her time tucked safely and happily in the shadow of her fiery older sister Bailey. But when Bailey dies abruptly, Lenny is catapulted to center stage of her own life, and despite her non-existent history with boys, suddenly finds herself struggling to balance two. Toby was Bailey's boyfriend. His grief mirrors Lenny's own. Joe is the new boy in town, a transplant from Paris whose nearly magical grin is matched only by his musical talent. For Lenny, they're the sun and the moon. One boy takes her out of sorrow, the other comforts her in it. But just like their celestial counterparts, they collide without the whole wide world exploding. So there is that emotional aspect of her sister dying, which maybe if you have previous experience in your life with a traumatic loss like that, maybe you might not want to pick this book up. That's just a forewarning. But I really love this book. It was light and fun for me to read despite those depressing aspects, because I really fell in love with the main boys in this book. I'm not gonna tell you which side that I was on, but his name starts with a Joe. I said Joe, but his name starts with a J. Swoon. Oh my gosh. This book is kind of comparable to me with my next recommendation, which I shall pick up. So ignore the cheesy cover, this is the original cover, but this book is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. And if you haven't already heard every other booktuber in the entire universe recommend this book to you, I am another one, so here you go. I think if you like Anna and the French Kiss, you will like this book, and vice versa. If you like this book, you'll probably like this book. Anna and the French Kiss, even if you've read it, it's still a great book to read during the school year, because like my friend Kaden, she's read this book 800 times. It's such a good book. Even my dad has read it. My family in Switzerland, who's a teacher, she teaches it to her students. I just love this book. I need to reread it really soon because I haven't read it in quite a while. It's a really light read and it's perfect for the school year because it's really quick to get through. I am going to read you the synopsis. Anna was looking forward to her senior year in Atlanta, where she has a great job, a loyal best friend, and a crush on the verge of becoming more. So she's less than thrilled about being shipped off to a boarding school in Paris. Such a struggle. I know, Anna, I know. Kidding, I wish I was you. Till she meets Etienne St. Clair. Hubby material. Smart, charming, beautiful. Etienne has it all, including a serious girlfriend. But in the city of lights, wishes have a way of coming true. Will a year of romantic near misses end with their long-awaited French kiss? This book just makes your heart melt. I loved it so much, and it's perfect and light, contemporary for the school year. So pick it up if you haven't already. If you haven't picked it up already, what are you waiting for? Everybody in the world raves about this book. Now to go ahead and switch up the genre to stray away from contemporary a little bit, we have this book right here called Vicious by V.E. Schwab. To me, this book was basically a comic book, but kind of in bookish format, if that makes sense. I also read this book on the same plane ride that I read The Sky is Everywhere. So both of these books had to have been really good for me to finish those in like that 5-hour time period, because I'm kind of a slow reader, but I devoured both of these books, which is saying something for me because I have dyslexia, so I'm not the fastest, but I'm not the slowest. So yeah. So if you are interested in superheroes and comics, I would definitely recommend this book to you, and now I am going to read you the synopsis. Victor and Eli started out as two brilliant but arrogant college students who recognized the same sharpness and ambition in each other. In their senior year, a shared research interest in adrenaline, near-death experiences, and seemingly supernatural events reveals an intriguing possibility that under the right conditions, someone could develop extraordinary abilities. But when their thesis moves from the academic to the experimental, things go horribly wrong. 10 years later, Victor breaks out of prison determined to catch up to his old friend, now foe, aided by a young girl whose reserved nature obscures a stunning ability. Meanwhile, Eli is on a mission to eradicate every other superpowered person that he could find, aside from his sidekick, an enigmatic woman with an unbreakable will. Armed with terrible powers on both sides, driven by the memory of betrayal and loss, the arch nemesis have set a course for revenge, but who will be left alive in the end? This was also the first book of V.E. Schwab's that I have read, but I really want to read some of her other series that she has. I have them on my bookshelf somewhere. After reading this book, I'm definitely going to be picking up some of her other books real soon. Next up, I have this book right here called Future Shock by Elizabeth Briggs. I was on a panel with Elizabeth, I believe it was almost maybe a year and a half ago. Time has gone by so fast, wowza. Just like this book, because it's about time travel. What do you do when the future is too late and the present is counting down to an inevitable moment? Elena Martinez has street smarts, the ability to perfect recall, and a deadline. If she doesn't find a job before she turns 18, she'll be homeless. But then she gets an unexpected offer from Aether Corporation, the powerful Los Angeles tech giant, along with 4 other recruits, Adam, Chris, Trent, and Zoe. Elena has been sent on a secret mission to bring back data from the future. All they have to do is get Aether the information they need, and the 5 of them will be set for life. It's an offer Elena can't refuse. But something goes wrong when the time travelers arrive in the future, and they are forced to break the only rule that they were given, not to look into their own fates. Now they have 24 hours to get back to the present and find a way to stop the seemingly inevitable future and a murder from happening. But changing the timeline has deadly consequences too. Who can Elena trust as she fights to save her life? As you can see, this book is pretty short, and it does have a sequel, which I really need to get because I really love this book. Once I started reading this book, I became so attached to the characters and their journey in the past and present that I was like flipping the pages. I was reading this book so fast. It's a really quick read, and it's super fun and interesting too to see this mystery and everything play out between the future and the past, and how they're trying to connect that mystery of what happened and what led their futures to be a certain way. Let's get on to the next book, shall we? The next book we have here is another contemporary book. This book is called All in Pieces by Susan Young. It's a really short book, only like 240-50 pages-ish. Let me just tell you that in general, Susan Young's books are all books that you can read during the start of the school year, because her books, the way that they are written, the writing just seems to flow so smoothly for me, and every time I get one of her books or I start reading one, I just finish it within a few hours. That is how good they are. Another thing I really loved about this book was the characters and how real their life story was. When I was talking to Susan Young before this book was to come out, like a year before it was to come out, and when she had told me and I had discovered it, she says, yeah, the main character stabs her ex-boyfriend in the hand with a pencil. I was like, yo, girl, chill. So let me just read you the back of this book. Anger management issues. That's how they classified Savannah Sutton after she stuck a pencil in her ex-boyfriend's hand because he mocked her little brother Evan for being disabled. That's why they sent her to Brooks Academy, an alternative high school that's used as a temporary detention center. The days at Brooks are miserable, but at home life is far more bleak. Savvy is struggling to take care of her brother since her mom left years ago, and her alcoholic dad can't be bothered. Life with Evan is a constant challenge. He's also the most important person in the world to Savvy. Then there's Cameron, a new student at Brooks with issues of his own, a guy from a perfect family that Savvy thought only existed on TV. Cameron seems determined to break through every one of the walls that Savvy's built around herself, except if she lets herself trust him, it could make everything she's worked so hard for fall apart in an instant. And with her aunt seeking custody of her brother and her ex-boyfriend seeking revenge, Savvy's fighting to hold all the pieces together, but she's not sure how much tighter she can be pulled before she breaks completely. Now for me, I can't relate to all the things that Savvy is going through in this Oh, I just got lipstick on the book. In this story, but nonetheless, I really loved the characters and I felt that their stories and everything was really realistic and real and everything wasn't like instant romance, cheesiness, stuff like that. I felt it was a realistic story. And that tends to be the main reason I stray away from contemporaries, is because I just find that they aren't believable, because I think that relationships and love takes work. It's not all this easy peasy cake that it's cracked up to be in most books. So that is a main reason I really like this book. It does have some trigger warning things where her boyfriend comes and kind of fills her up and beats her and kind of gets revenge. So if that's something that you have personal experience with or don't want to read about, then this book wouldn't be for you. I would recommend Anne and the French Kiss instead, because that's more of a happy ending book. Not that this doesn't have a happy ending. It is a happy-ish book. It just has some darker subject matter, if that makes sense, but it is a light, good book. Let's get on to the next book. Book number 6 that we have here is a book called The Geek's Guide to Unrequited Love. This is the book for all nerds, not just book nerds, but nerds in general, because this book is about a boy who's going to Comic-Con. Let me just read the inside because we all know I'm terrible at synopsises. Graham met his best friend Roxy when he moved into her neighborhood 8 years ago, and she asked him which Hogwarts house he'd been sorted into. Graham has been in love with her ever since. But now they're 16, still neighbors, still best friends, and Graham and Roxy share more than ever, moving on from their Harry Potter obsession to a serious love of comic books. When Graham learns that the creator of their favorite comic, The Chronicles of Athena, is making a rare appearance at this year's New York Comic Con, he knows he must score tickets, and the event inspires Graham to come up with a perfect plan to tell Roxy how he really feels about her. He's got 3 days to woo his best friend at the coolest, kookiest con full of superheroes and supervillains, but no one at a comic book convention is who they appear to be, even Roxy, and Graham is starting to realize fictional love stories are way less complicated than real life ones. Preach! I love this book because, like I said, it's realistic, and the character itself realizes it that love in books is not all that it cracks up to be sometimes. This is not me hating on all contemporaries, because like I said, I've just recommended some really good ones that I felt portrayed love in a great way. So this is just another one of those. And the cover shows the kookiness of the character dressed up with his flowers, ready to confess his love. But like I said, this book goes on a whirlwind. Ooh, it's shiny. I just saw that. It goes on a whirlwind of Graham's adventure at Comic-Con, and it's actually really crazy how everything ties up in the end with all the little bits and pieces throughout the novel. And there's a bunch of nerdy references from Lord of the Rings to superheroes to video games. Everything is mentioned in this book. There was so many references. I was like, ah! I fangirled over a lot of things in this book, so it's a great book. Like I said, it's really short. So thus, this concludes my 6 easy reads for the beginning of the school year recommendations. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if there are other types of recommendations you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you have any video recommendations, comment them below as well. Be sure to subscribe to my channel to see future videos from me, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!